slightly different project because I assume everyone's probably going to school for a different job, occupation, okay? So really we're doing it for two people. One is a high school graduate that makes this amount of money every year, okay? The other is for someone that has the job that you want, okay? So how first off, how do you find the income of the job that you want? So the first step is to look at the um, at these jobs and find it. Okay, so I'm gonna find it for myself, but that's the first step. Okay. You might think that I would want to look up math, right? Because I seem to like math a lot. But for me, I'm gonna look up education. So I'm not gonna look up math. I'm gonna look up education. So that's me though. Okay, so I'm going for uh, to teach math. That's my goal, and I'm gonna do it hopefully at Ivy Tech, so post-secondary. And I'm just going to take this value right here. This is the 2022 median pay. That's for the entire country. Okay, that's not for Bloomington. That's not for um, Ivy Tech and Bloomington. That's for the entire country. So that's the same as, that's the average over, California, Colorado, Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, I mean, all the states, everybody. But I'm just going to take that value, okay? So that's the median income over it. So that's the first thing you need to do is to find that value, okay? So that's step one, okay? Now, step two is we're going to find the loan that goes along with that scenario. So, assume you're planning on spending a certain amount of income towards your mortgage. The terms of the mortgage are 1.7 APR for 30 years. You plan on spending 28% of your monthly gross income on your mortgage. Make sure you show at least one sample formula used. So, also, you're going to input your answers and describe what's going on here. So maybe I should resume quiz here so you can see what it'll look like when you input your answers. So the first question is upload your spreadsheet. That's what we're making. Next, explain what job you've chosen and why. Assume using the median income. You're going to state that. You find it here. Compare the salary of both a high school graduate and yourself for this job. How does it compare? Use both absolute and relative change statements. Okay, let's go to question three here. Assume you're planning on spending a certain amount of income towards a mortgage. Here are the APR, 30 years, 28% of our monthly gross income, and what's the highest price we can afford. Okay, so that's it. That's where we're going to start. I'm going to use this value because I'm going to be a math teacher at Ivy Tech and or post-secondary school. Okay, so I need to open Excel and I'm going to go blank worksheet. There we go. And so I'm just going to put math prof. Okay. And that is the income for the math prof, is what I found. Okay. So I can just use that. Now, the project says use 28% of your monthly. So I suppose I should find the monthly first. So equals this divided by 12. There's my monthly income. 28% of monthly equals this times 0.28. Okay, so I've already found 28% of my monthly income. That's how much I can use towards my house. Okay, so what is the size of the loan I can take out using no down payment, but just this 28% of my monthly income? What size of the loan can I take out? They told me the APR I should remember. I think it was 1.7%. I should double check that. Sorry for the flipping. 1.7. And the time is 30 years. Okay. So the loan would be PV 1.7% divided by 12, 12 by 30 years minus 28% of my monthly income. There it is. So that's the size of the loan that this person could afford with those boundaries. Okay. Let's look back. Assume you're planning on a certain amount of income, 1.7, 30 years, 28% of our monthly income. Now, that's for the math professor. Okay, so we have that. Now, we do this project for two people. The other is the high school graduate. Okay, now I am not going to show you how to do it with these numbers because that's what you're graded on. Okay, so that's one of the things you get graded on is using these numbers. So I'm not going to use those numbers in my demonstration, but you're going to use it on your project. Okay. So I'm going to change it a little bit. I hope it's not confusing that I'm not using what's listed, but I'm going to write 20,500 instead of 22. This is what you use on your project. This is what I'm using for my demonstration. Okay. I'm doing it so I can show you how to do it, but not give you the answers. Okay. So I take this and I divide by 12. There's my monthly, and then 28% of monthly equals this times 0.28. Okay. All right. That's how much they can put in there. Uh-oh, uh-oh, uh-oh. Oh, is it not showing my... Oh, dear God. It wasn't showing my... Oh, goodness, guys. I am so sorry. I am so sorry. I thought it was showing that. All right. I do apologize. So here's my spreadsheet. I do apologize about that. So there's the math prop. And then monthly equals and then 28% of monthly equals times 0.28. And then the size of the loan. I'm all flustered now because I'm mad at myself because I did that. Okay. 1.7, the time is 30 years. So the size of the loan would be equals PV 1.7% divided by 12, 12 by 30 minus 28% of our monthly income. There we have it. Okay. So that's the size of the loan that this person could afford. Okay. Now, that's what I believe they could find. All right. Now, what I'm worried about is that I'm not going to show the high school graduates' exact income. I'm going to use 20,500 instead of what we're supposed to use is 22,500. Okay. So that's what we're supposed to use. That's what you're going to use. I'm going to use this number for the demonstration because I'm not giving you the answers. So anyway, monthly equals this divided by 12, and then 28% of monthly is this times 0.28. There we go. So that's how much they can put into their mortgage using these boundaries. Now I need to find the size of the loan. So PV 1.7% divided by 12, 12 by 30 minus this value we just found before. Okay, so that's the size of the loan that they can have. This is the size of the loan that the math professor can have. Okay. Now again, all I would have to do, if you follow those steps, all I have to do is change this income to the one given. Okay. So there's not much you'd have to even change one number to get the right answer. Okay. So that should help you as well. Okay. Now they want us to have absolute and relative change statements. So I can do that. So absolute would be equals this minus this. That's the absolute change. The relative change would be the absolute change divided by the reference value. In my case, it would be this. In your case, it would also be the high school student. And we see it's 294% more. 294% more. Sorry for all the flipping, but let's go down. What's the highest price we can afford? We just calculate. What's the highest price a high school graduate could calculate? You're going to calculate that. Use absolute and relative change statements to compare the house prices of the high school graduate for your house. Okay, so we have the amount difference and we have the percentage change. So that should be a good head start for question 3. Sorry about not showing you Excel. That was not my intention. And then I also showed it last week, I think, as well. Question 4, research housing costs for a city you would like to live in. Use cities within the United States, assuming that the APR and the years of the mortgage is still the same as in question number 2. Okay, 1.7%, 30 years. Using Excel, find the amount needed for the monthly mortgage. Use relative and absolute change sentence compared to the monthly price in question 2. Calculate the percentage of the monthly gross income, this payment for your salary. Okay, so in this time, we're not comparing it to the high school graduate. We're comparing it to the previous question. It says research a city you would like to live in. So I have to pick a city that I want to live in, and I have to find housing prices. So where can I find housing prices? I'm just going to go to Zillow. It's good enough for me. If it's good enough for you, it's good enough for me. I'm gonna choose Zillow to look it up, and I'm gonna choose Bloomington. So I'm gonna look up some Bloomington prices, and I just want to find a house that I can live in. We saw my budget, and so I think I can do well within my budget here. Um, I don't think I see the house I found last week. I'm gonna flip for a little bit, see if I can find it. No, I don't see my house last week. So it's changed a little bit. Okay. Well, let's see. Just comparing the numbers. Let's try this one. This one looks absolutely huge. It's five bedrooms. That's quite big. State Road 46. Yeah, okay. So yeah, I think I could live here. This looks okay with me. So this is $499,000. Okay, so I've researched the city I want to live in, Bloomington, Indiana. It's on State Road, East State Road, 46. I was gonna say this is close to my actual real house, but this is on the east side. I'm on the west side. Okay, so there we go. Now let's say the house that I found is $499,000, which is way more than my actual house. Okay, just so you know, this is also way more than my actual salary. Uh, just in case you thought I was doing great. Okay, if you want to get fancy, you don't have to do this. You could even share the get shareable link. So you could even save the house if you want. And then if you want, you could um, make a link to a reference. That's not expected that you would do that. But if you're really going to go in to, apply to a house, and it's always good to have your reference links. I find it's just nice bookkeeping just so I can refer to everything because I won't remember everything. I'll be like, oh, well, I just searched Bloomington Homes and it popped right up. But as we can see from last week, it's different houses, so it changes all the time. So I find that helpful just for me, but that's not something you have to do. Anyway, that's the price of the house. Now we're going to go backwards. So now we're going to find the monthly payments, and then we're going to see how that compares to the previous ones. Okay. So what are the payments for this house? If it's the same scenario with the APR being the same, the time being the same, then I'm going to use PMT 1.7% divided by 12, 12 by 30 minus price of this home. All right, these are my payments. So they are less than before, but how much less? So the absolute change would be the new minus the old. Okay, so that's a negative value. So, and that's good, right? That means I'd be saving that amount of money each month because I'm not spending that on my house payment. Before it was 28%, so now we see it's not. It's not the same amount. Okay, well, that's great. The relative is the absolute divided by the reference value. The reference value would be the 28% of the monthly income. And I'm going to turn that into a percentage since it is. So we see it's 6% less, 6% change, 6% decrease of the previous. All right. Let's look at that instructions again. Whoops. So research housing costs for a city you'd like to live in. I did. Using cities within the United States, of course. Assuming the APR and the years of the mortgage are still the same from the previous question. 1.7 and 30 years. Using Excel, find the amount needed for the monthly mortgage. Use a relative and absolute change sentence comparing this monthly price to the previous question. Calculate the percentage of the monthly gross income this payment would be of your salary. Okay, I haven't done that yet. So this is percent of monthly. So that's my payments divided by my monthly, which I found up here, and turn that into percentage. So 26% of my monthly income would go towards these payments. So there I have it. Before it was set at 28, I picked a house. Now it's 26. Okay. So I'm able to do that. All right. So I get to pick what city I live in. I picked Bloomington. I found a house I like. It's huge. I can make the payments because I'm doing great. And there it is. Okay, I'm going to use my absolute and relative change statements. Assume that you've selected a job that has a retirement plan that allows you to save for 32 years. Use 4% of your monthly income to put into the retirement. How much should you expect in an annual return of 899? How much should the high school graduate expect to get after the same percentage? And then use the absolute and relative change statements comparing the two. All right. Now we're going to do retirement, and it's for 32 years, and it's 4% of our monthly income at 899. Okay. So let's do that. So I need to do retirement for both people. The rate is 899. The time was 32 years. Double check that. Yes. And then the payment is 4% of our monthly income. Okay, so let's do it. Well, I can do this all in one step for this person because for the math professor, I already have their monthly income. I have the APR, I have the time, and I have the payment. Okay, so I should be good to go. All right, so let's do it. Which function am I going to use for a retirement account? FV. There it is. All right. 899 4% divided by 12, 12 by the 32 years, minus, here's how I'm going to do it. I just want Excel to calculate. I'm going to do the monthly times 0.04. That would work. So that's one way you can do it. The other way is just to find 4% of your monthly income and then just input that. Either way, either way. So that's what I would expect the math professor to have in their account. Now, what would I expect for the high school graduate to have? Well, FV 8.99% divided by 12, 12 by 30 minus 4% of their monthly income monthly times 0.04. That's what they'll have. Now, again, please recall, I'm not giving you the answers for the high school student. This should be 22,500. Okay, so it's off. Okay, so please note that your numbers will be different when you actually do your project. Okay, but there's the two retirement accounts. We can find the absolute change by taking the difference. We can do the relative change by taking the absolute change divided by the old value. We find that percentage change. And that's question 5. Okay, that's the idea. All right. Number 6, consider working for a company that gives you two options for a yearly increase in your salary. You take a wage increase of 1.5 or you take a lump sum of $825. What scenario should you take for your job, A or B? Explain why you chose your option. Should the high school graduate take A or B? Justify your answer. Okay, raise. It's either going to be 1.5% or it's going to be $825. Now, the more the person makes, the more the percentage would be, right? So 1.5% times their annual salary, that's what this person's raise would be at 1.5%. Okay, so versus 825. So they should most certainly take the percentage increase. Okay. Now for the high school graduate, again, it's going to be a little different because I didn't use the correct numbers. You're going to, but I didn't want to give you the answers. So we're going to do 1.5%. So equals 1.5% times the yearly salary. And it's 300. So versus $825, it looks like they should take the 825. Okay. Your numbers are going to be a little different for the high school student because I used purposely the wrong number. So be sure that that's clear that you need to change that. But that's the idea. So it looks like the math prof should take the percentage. The high school graduate should take the lump sum. Okay. So that's question 6. And that's it. That's the answer. That's it. Okay. So I'm still leaving a few things left undone for you to do, but that's 2 weeks worth of review. And then I'm going to go back and show you a few other things you can see. Okay. So it says resume quiz. It's not a quiz. Everything in Canvas they call a quiz, but it's not actually a quiz. So hopefully you notice there's 6 questions and there's no time limit. You don't have to input it in a Word document. You just need to input it on those questions there. Okay. So I would think the project would take you, I don't know, 2 hours to do, maybe something like that. I wouldn't think after watching the review, watching this, it would take, I wouldn't think it would take 5 hours. So I would say my guess is it would take about 2 hours to do. Okay. All right. You can always ask me questions. Whoops, whoops, whoops. So you can always ask me